everyone, it's Ms. Lucas here. And in this video, we are going to focus on part 2 of this text, where we have completed the first read and we completed the post-read questions. Now we're moving on to our close read, where we really are diving in and analyzing the text. So in these two questions, we are really going to focus on determining the central idea of the text and how it is conveyed through the details, once again, basing our answers on textual evidence. And then we want to just provide a summary of what the text is saying. So we have two questions here. What made the reaching of the North Pole a different challenge than Henson's earlier expeditions? And in this question, we really want to compare what is it saying at the beginning of the text? What kind of expeditions is he experiencing at the beginning? And how does that compare or contrast to the expedition he faces at the end, focusing more on the North Pole? Then the second question, we really see where it is asking you to name at least 2 ways in which Henson's contributions to the discovery of the North Pole were acknowledged. And if you want to extend your thinking, even answer the question on, do you think that was enough? Or do you think more should have been done to recognize what Henson had accomplished? So let's go ahead and dive into our lesson for today. First one says, what made reaching the North Pole a different challenge than Henson's earlier expeditions? So how is the North Pole different than what he had done before? Go ahead and take about 30 seconds, jot your thinking down, and then we'll compare answers. Maybe some sentence starters in case you need that extra support. All right, who can tell me what his earlier expeditions involved? Micah, go ahead.
So I said that his earlier expeditions involved, like, I feel like they were almost more like expeditions than North Pole, because they, like they said, went 2 years, and they were like staying there and exploring each day, where I feel like the North Pole is kind of like go, you're constantly having to worry about what's happening, and it's not, like, it almost reminds me of like the other ones was like they're reading about James Wall, how she had, it was still an exploration, but she had just stayed there and explored each day like that. And
okay.
Like
excellent connection.
Ice breaking and building igloos.
So I'm going to take that last part. Were all his expeditions in that same environment? No. So well, how was the environment different with his earlier expeditions? What did those involve? Lucy, do you know? Yeah. Yeah. So we see that his earlier expeditions involved I need to revise some of my wording. His function at sea in a warmer climate. So then we see it's different because the North Pole obviously has a different climate. It has colder temperatures, right? What did the harsh conditions include at the North Pole? Dalton? Okay, but what kind of conditions take place in those colder climates that he's experiencing? Shepard? So what does that mean? It's a little. Can you repeat that last part? Okay. So what about the ice? And I'm going to add what Dalton said as well. So we see too, just navigating and finding the North Pole made exploration different than what he was used to in the previous or earlier expeditions. Yeah, so Kanishka was just adding to the ice breaking and cracking. I'm going to also add, the frequent hazardous conditions. Drifting ice. And then she said that formed patches of open water. So that was also a challenge. Let me go back and reread this. So once again, we can't just focus on the expedition at the North Pole. We have to compare how this was different than his earlier expeditions. What did he do before? What were those like? Michael, anything else you would like to add?
I mean, since he has explored the jungle, like this, he are, and since it was like a warmer climate, it had like fresh water.
Yeah.
And so in the North Pole, you can't find those things. It's mostly ice and cold water.
So you had to come up with different strategies in different ways, right? So although he was an explorer, your environment definitely shapes your survival skills, right? How you're going to navigate with those challenges. Okay, last one here. So name at least 2 ways in which Henson's contributions to the discovery of the North Pole were acknowledged. So take about 30 seconds, jot your answers down. How were his contributions acknowledged? And I want some textual evidence here. Where do you see that in the text? So if we think about text structure too and how this text is organized, we could find that place in the text, the answer in the text. All right, who can tell me where we see where his contributions had been acknowledged? Leah, can you give me a paragraph number? Yeah. So we see a couple of pieces, right? I'm going to highlight this entire portion of the paragraph. So we see that he was finally being recognized in 1937. The Explorers Club of New York made him an honorary member. Then in 1946, he was awarded a medal. And then 1954, he was invited to the White House. So then we see, although he passed, he was still laid to rest with full military honors. And then we see that we have a ship that was dedicated in his honor. Then he was given an award by the National Geographic Society. So all of this refers back to how, yes, Emma, thank you. Paragraph 28 talks about how he was acknowledged. Even though this happens here at the end, in 1937 and beyond, do you think that was enough, even though he was overlooked for so long? Colette, what do you think? Go ahead. Okay. Yeah. So even though that's not necessarily like a medal, that's still acknowledging, right? So do you think that all the things that he received at the end made up for being ignored for so long or overlooked? Libby, you're shaking your head no. Why? What was the last part? Unfair, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Will, any last thoughts? Yeah. So that's important to think about too. Being appreciated and acknowledged and not overlooked or dismissed, right? Lucy? Apologizing. Yes, I think that could have gone a long way as well. Okay, we are going to stop there from using our text right here in paragraph 27 and 28. And now we're going to move on to our next part.